I am going to record a live event so we can hit two birds with one stone, and it's all about learning and development and how we can focus on making competence mandatory rather than training programs. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me again, because last week you were super kind to me and messaging me that you wanted to learn more about the concept of making competence mandatory as opposed to training. And this is music to my ear, and today I brought you specific examples and the framework that you can use in order to make that happen within your organization. So let's recap on what we learned last week so everybody is on board. So we agreed that the purpose of L&D is is the development of competence. And your ROI as an L&D professional is in your annual appraisal. And don't forget to look at, because if your job is to improve the level of competence of your employees within the organization, competence is being measured in annual appraisal. So I just don't understand why we don't look at those. So the focus is on competence building and making competence mandatory, not training. In order to do that, what we needed to figure out, this is what we talked about, is how we assess for competence. So you as an L&D professional is not only that your job is to create and design interventions that address competency building, but you need to measure, and it's not necessarily the traditional measurement that we learn, but you need to figure out how to measure each competence that you are training for or are in your annual appraisal. And we know that those competencies in annual appraisals, they are almost impossible to measure. Strategic thinking, there is no way somebody can measure that. Empathy, it's very debatable. Emotional intelligence, very debatable, highly debatable. So whatever you train, make sure that there is a way to measure and assess for it. Otherwise, you will not be able to prove your ROI. Now, so that's about last week and how we can do that, because last week I said don't make training mandatory, but make competence mandatory. But in order to do this, we need to teach people how to think instead of forcing ideas on them. We need to teach people how to think and find valuable resources. And really, this is how we are going to customize and personalize learning. Restoring independence in learning is so important, because the spoon-feeding culture that we have created not only doesn't work, it impedes learning. And it also goes against every other learning principle that we have been taught. I always laugh when L&D professionals, we are being taught and we are trained to use these adult learning principles when we design instructional designers, when we design training courses and workshops. However, we are so willingly forget about them when it comes to prescribing learning and training to individuals. So we need to move away, because we cannot customize learning, and we cannot foster a self-led learning culture with the current structure that is basically telling employees, this is what you need to learn, this is how you're going to learn it, and this is when you are going to learn it. That removes all the power from the employees and puts all the blame on you, which is not a great environment. But before we even start thinking about building such a culture, it's very important that we start with recruitment. Because if you hire the wrong people who need to be spoon-fed, who need to be, who completely reject the idea of, no, I don't know how to develop myself, I expect my managers and L&D and training to come and train me, that's the wrong fit for that type of culture. So you need to be okay with setting expectations during recruitment and during onboarding, that, hey, we are going to give you all the resources and the tools. We are going to explain what are the competencies that you need to, that you are required to demonstrate. We are going to give you help, but it doesn't mean that we are going to drag you into classroom sessions. And we don't want you to understand and associate learning with classroom, because most of the time we meet or we receive this feedback, nobody is teaching us, and the reason, and I'm not learning, and the reason people say that, because they don't understand that majority of the learning and training happens in the flow of work. And also they don't understand that it's their responsibility to go after what they want, go after their development. So your development is your responsibility, and me as an organization, I am there to facilitate that, to provide you with options and resources. Now, let's start with giving you very specific information, and pay attention, because this is how you can start redesigning your organizations. And it starts with letting people decide how they want to achieve the required level of competence. I know it's hard, because now you say, oh, but people don't know. Well, if you don't allow them to experiment and learn, they will never know. And you take the responsibility, you are in charge, and that is a massive burden, because this is why we hear managers saying, I don't have the time. Well, you don't have to, actually, because if you allowed your people to develop themselves and all you had to do is set expectations around that workload comes off you. And we can start with identifying and setting these expectations during onboarding and asking questions. How do you like to learn? Right? And then we provide the options and the opportunities and the guidance. What are the options that employees that are available for employees to cater for the different ways of learning? Not talking about learning style, that has been discredited long time ago. If you are an L&D professional, please do not mention. You lose your credibility immediately. So it's basically the tools. How do you like to? Do you watch the videos? Is it short, long term? You're more an academic kind of person. You like to learn from professors because, anything else is just below par for you. It's really depending on that. How do you like to receive feedback? We never ask this from employees. And then we deliver messages in the wrong way that they are not receiving or directly rejecting. How do you like to be managed? We don't have such a data on our employees, and everybody is very, very different. So this is where you start customizing, learning, and even how you manage people. Would you like to be coached or mentored? We never ask this from people. I learn through coaching and mentoring. I'm very self-driven. I can self-learn. I don't need to be told, but I'd like to have a sounding board to help me figure out what I need to learn and how I can learn that, because this is where people actually need help to figure out what are the options that are available for me to develop a certain competence. And I'm going to give you a very specific example. So I had a director who had a problem with public speaking, and his promotion was depending on him having a better executive appearance or presence, and speaking much better, in a much better way, without giving away too much information, in a more sophisticated way when talking to senior stakeholders. That guy he said, he was very clear about, I'm not going to attend any kind of public speaking or presentation skill course, not online, not workshop. I'm not doing it. So, and this is where you L&D professionals come into the picture, your qualification and experience. So this is where your role comes in. Okay, let's figure it out. Help the person. So we sat down. I'm like, what is it that you would be open to? And the guy had no idea. He says, I don't know what are the options, but I'm not doing ABC. So sometimes it's a good start to know what they are not willing to do. So then I remembered that I know the head of Toastmaster here in Dubai. So I contacted the guy. I'm like, would you have a space for him? Even just to try, because we don't know if he would like that. And then I asked the director, I'm like, look, would you be open to this opportunity? And he said, okay, let me try. He never been on such an event, And he went and he joined. And he stayed with them for 6 months, practicing his public speaking skill. He loved it so much that he eventually joined the club like full time and developed the amazing skill. And later on, I figured out why he did not want to attend any kind of workshop. He was very shy. He didn't want anybody within the organization to know that this is his challenge and he's struggling with. And sometimes we need to cater for that. We need to account for these kind of possibilities that people just better learning outside of the work environment because of whatever reason. And instead of pushing him, because I could have said, look, these are the courses that I can recommend. This is what we pay. This is what we have in-house, and take it or leave it. But that's not a professional approach. So helping people to figure these kind of things out, right? So let's go back to personalizing and the onboarding stage. And I'm going to give you 2 more examples, specific ones. One is onboarding and leadership development, how we can customize personalized learning while fostering that self-led learning culture. So onboarding are a painful exercise or induction days in any companies. And if you look at induction programs, they are all about knowledge, and knowledge is very easy. This is the easiest to assess for, right? This is literally the easiest. Yet we herd people into classrooms, 1-day workshop, 2 days, sometimes 3 days of induction of brainwashing, and by lunchtime on day 1 you just rather be somewhere else. Literally you say that, do I really want to have this job, because it's so painful. And people are very equipped to figure things out when it comes to acquiring knowledge. So onboarding is all your content, your vision, your mission, your leadership, your goals, your values, your structure, your whatever there is, right? Put it in the content, in the form of content, that it has videos. I used to do that. I created an application. It had all the information that they needed. It walked them around the company. It's a guided tour around the company, talking about all the features or the vision, the mission, the application introduced the participants or the new joiners to the leadership team. The leadership team had something to say. They had to go around, they had to meet people, so they got to know the place. Where is the toilet? Where is the restaurant? Where is this? Where is the ABC? What do we do? Who is there? Who is the head of that department? What do they do? Etc., etc. And by doing that, you literally give this to the employees' hands and their responsibility to learn. They can do it as many times they want. That you cater for the pace of learning, the way of learning, because now they have videos, they have written contact, they can interact with people, they go around, they physically see the space. What I hate, especially during induction, that people tell, oh, here is a PowerPoint presentation, this is our meeting room, this is our bedroom, this is our we have the real restaurant and bedroom. Take people around and show it to them, right? And once it's done, so within the first 1 month, it's not like the first day of your joining date. First day of the joining date, people want to know, where's the toilet? Where am I going to eat? Who is my immediate team members? And when can I go home? This is the first day of agenda of every employee, whether we like it or not. It's just too overwhelming, even for the most eager one, right? So we don't need an induction of 8 hours brainwashing. What we need is literally the very basics, get to know your team, and get on with your learning, get familiar with the environment, and such a learning is perfect. So within the first month, after that, you need to assess, right? Because what you want with this, not just somebody to walk around and have a good time, but what is it that you have learned? So you create your assessment. You assess once. If the person failed, you provide support. Hey, do you need any help? Which are the areas that you are struggling with? Maybe I can help you with a little bit of 10 minutes conversation, coaching, not classroom session. And then you provide support. The person takes a second assessment. If the person failed again, now you have another conversation. What are the struggles? Maybe the person has learning disabilities or difficulties. And then you need to cater for it and find the best way. And then the person takes the third assessment, and if the person failed the third assessment for onboarding, for your induction, maybe it's time to say goodbye to the person. I know it sounds harsh, but if the person fails with such a simple thing to learn in terms of company vision, mission, values, and whatever we teach during induction, you will struggle to teach that person going forward to more complex things. So this is how you do, and you can do that with your entire onboarding. So your onboarding lasts for 3 months, departmental training, skill development, knowledge development, behavioral, and etc. And you create assessments for those, and once they pass that, this is when they pass probation. It's very, very simple. It's just a tedious task because you need to figure out how to assess for everything. Then you have leadership, and after that I'm going to give you a framework how you can actually bring it all together. So then you have leadership development. Leaders no longer want to follow a certain leadership framework. They don't want to be told this is the type of leadership you need to follow. They want to learn about themselves and lead based on that. So we need to create an environment that allows that and move away from this prescribed leadership frameworks and styles and studies, and this is how you should be as a leader. There is no such a recipe, and we need to move away. So how we can do that is through self-awareness development and through coaching. I would not give any learning tool for leaders without coaching, because what you try to do, for example, let's take an example. A leader that struggles with the communication, the Toastmasters, that was a great example for that. But let's say the leader is struggling with team cohesion, right? His team is falling apart. There's a lot of conflicts, ABC. Now, a lazy L&D professional would say, oh, here it is. You attend this leadership workshop, how to manage team conflict. But we don't know why the team conflict is happening. The person doesn't know. Maybe he knows or she knows, but just can't figure out what would be the solutions. This is where a coach comes into the picture. It's the first step of their leadership development and training approach. That, okay, with the coach together, let's figure out what are the problems in here. So if they go around and investigate what's causing the conflict within the team, they will figure out certain things, and from then onwards the L&D professional together with the leader can together figure out how they can solve that issue. Now, it might be that is a training course, it might be there is a workshop, but it's very likely there is self-awareness development in the form of, reflecting what is really happening. How, as a leader, how did I contribute to this state that my team is in? Because every leader leads their team where they currently are, right? And this is where a coach needs to be coming into the picture, because guess what? We are very, very smart and we can figure things out, but we need help. And even if you have all the training courses and resources available, sometimes we get lost in the amount of learning tools and resources, and we don't know which one would solve our problems. So the coach comes into the picture to really guide that person through that. And that coach might be the L&D professional. So you don't need to think about big things. Oh, no, I don't have a budget for hiring coaches. If you are a qualified L&D professional, you should be able to guide leaders through that and really guide them to the right learning resources. So I hope this helps, and how to customize learning and how to really drive that self-led approach in talent development, in learning and development, and leadership development, and in any aspect of training. Because the reason we do that is not only to equip people to use how to use their resources, but also that we can prescribe as many training as we want, but if it doesn't resonate with the learner, there is no learning in that, and we don't know what people consider quality content. So we really need to give them the freedom to explore and teach them how to think about their own development and how they can get there, rather than telling them and really spoon feeding. And whether they like it or not, they just need to go along to that direction. Now, pay attention, because now I'm going to give you a really cool 3 ways of how to customize and cater for specific employees that different needs, and how to build that into your talent management program. So this is basically the foundation. This is the framework. And annual appraisals are coming up, so you can implement it straight away. You don't need to overhaul the whole organization's talent development system to do this. Even also line manager, you can do that immediately. Because what kind of conversation you should be having during your annual appraisal is, what is it that you would like to do next year, right? And everybody is being told, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, you need promotion, you need to move forward, you need to attend 3 trainings minimum, because otherwise the L&D department will not meet the KPIs that everybody is attending. I hate that. Please, people, make sure that you understand that the number of training hours, the number of training courses completed, including online, including workshop, including whatever, it doesn't reflect to your efficiency. Skill competency development it reflects to your efficiency, because you can have thousands of hours of learning completed if the level of competency remains the same. And it doesn't tell you tell anybody how good you are in your job, because it could tell also that if I need thousands of hours of training for the workforce, it could mean that the workforce is really badly qualified and competent for the job that they are doing. Okay, so don't measure number of training hours. This is old school, grandmother 1956. And when somebody says that to me, I already know what kind of organizations they are working in and their mindset, the leadership mindset, and the lack of suitability of the L&D professional. And sometimes the L&D professional knows that, but the environment doesn't allow that. So it's the leadership who is still living in the past, and we don't want that. So here we go. Take a pen and paper, because I'm going to give you 3 pathways. I like to call them lanes, right? So you have your group of people, and you enter the appraiser with everybody, and you, at the end of your appraiser, you talk about career development going forward next year. And what do we want to do with you, right? And we identified 3 types of people within organizations. Now we just narrow it down to 3, but people they fall into millions of groups. So let's keep it simple. So the first group is the ones that they want to elevate their performance next year. They already may be performing really, really well. They want to elevate it further, and they also want to be promoted. I call them as an achievement focused group, right? They are the one that they are in it to win it, and they want to further their career or their performance. They are seeking greater performance or promotion. So based on that, What is it that we can plan out for you, right? So these are the competencies that you would need to develop. These are the resources that are available for that. So you as an employee person, start planning your year, because during the year, I'm going to check in with you. I will tell you that about after the 2 more lanes. So then here you have your high achievers, right? That they want to develop their competence, their performance, and maybe even want to be promoted. Then you have those ones who we like to call them as the continuous learner. They are very happy in their job. They don't necessarily want to move, but they want to keep learning. And these are the ones they want to experience more. They are in it to experience it. And they really, what they want is just to be exposed to different learning activities. So what is it that they would like to learn? Is it related to the competencies for the role that they are currently in, or maybe to another role related to competencies in another role that maybe not next year, but the year after they might consider, looking at. So what are the activities or learning programs that they can engage in? Then you outline that with the person. Then you have the third group, that the work-life balance group. Those are the people who want to maintain really good performance, because everybody has to perform. That's the basic criteria. They want to maintain that performance, and they want you to leave them alone for next year with your learning strategies and learning interventions. They might have a lot on their plate in terms of their private life. Somebody is sick, I want to get pregnant, I want to stay at home, whatever the problem. Oh, I just finished my master's degree this year, and for next year, I don't want to engage in any kind of learning activities because I've been studied in the past 2 years. And that's okay. And it's also okay that in June next year, I change my mind because my circumstances have changed. So you as an L&D professional, you need to be flexible enough to cater for that. Now, you have these 3 lanes and you outline what the employee wants, right? And you need to build that into your appraisal system. And this is where the self-led and the personalized approach comes into the picture, and also accountability and responsibility, because now the employees need to take responsibility for completing those trainings and signing themselves up, attending them, applying their knowledge and the newly gained competence, right? Because what you are going to do during the year next year, if you are a good manager and a leader, is that you have your quarterly check-in and you monitor those developments. So for example, if somebody said, you know what, I'm in a high achiever focus group or achievement focus group, and I outlined 4 activities that I'm going to complete in order to develop certain competencies. So you need to be very specific which are the competencies that people are working on. And after that, you leave the person, but you as a leader, manager, you sit down with the person and you ask the right questions, okay? And the right question is not, have you completed this training? Because it might yield no result. The right question is, which competency have you been working in the past 3 months? What did you do in order to make it better? And how did you apply that? What problem did you solve within your department? Or how did you get better? What did you do in terms of your performance that would show that you have acquired that competency to a satisfactory level? Imagine if you ask that from your employees, rather than, oh, did you complete your training? I can complete hundreds of trainings and knowing absolutely nothing. And why you do that? Because once again, accountability comes into the picture, right? You don't want employees to come back, oh, nobody is developing me, nobody is promoting me. Because if I'm the high achiever focus group or a high achiever group, and I said, I want to learn, I want to increase my performance, I want to have promotion, and in order to do this, I will develop these competencies further, and I'm going to prove it to you how I developed it and what I can do right now with my developed competence. But if I come in May, March, April, whatever, we sit down together, And I just come up with excuses. Yeah, I want promotion, I want to develop it, but you know what? I couldn't do the training, or not the training, I couldn't work on this competence because of ABC. Okay. Then June, July, I have the same speech for you delivered as my line manager and leader, and I still haven't worked on anything. So now you going to have to start recording that Sylvia is just wishing away. She has no intention of putting the work in, and it might not impact her performance appraiser because she's still delivering good performance, but it will impact her ambition and motivation and how we look at promoting people, because now she's not showing us that she wants to actually put in the work for that promotion. And this is when it all goes back to the employees. And if you manage employees that way, it is difficult, it takes a lot of energy, but if you manage to get there, people will take charge of their own development, and all of a sudden you will realize that people will learn and develop themselves if there is a reason for it. And if they don't want to develop themselves next year because they want to take a break but still maintain really good performance, you need to be okay with it. And also you need to be okay with people who don't want to be promoted or even elevate their performance because they perform well. Those are your significant contributor in terms of keeping the organizations running, but they still want to learn. Why not? Not everybody needs to be developed further in terms of their performance or promotion. Majority of the people are very happy, but somehow we are where they are. But somehow we sold them this idea, no, you need to go further, you need to go further, you need to go further. No, there will be years in anyone's career where you work really hard because next year I want to get that promotion, I want to make more money. But then I achieved whatever I wanted to do with that, and now I'm going to take a break, you know? I still contribute, I still do the job that you pay me for, I still, do a little bit even more, I coach others, I mentor, I train, but I don't want to invest my time in developing myself because at this moment, I'm kind of okay with it. I'm okay with where I am. So if you start that very basic, simple question or structure, and in terms of setting expectations, in terms of understanding your people, what they want to do next year, in terms of giving them the choice to figure out how to acquire that level of competence that you expect from them or they want to achieve, and you provide guidance and support and put the responsibility on them, and later on the accountability throughout the year during your check-ins to check in. So you said this is what you want in January, in December, in November. What is it that you have actually done from that? And when the person says, I don't have anything, now you rest your case, because now the person just showed you the ambition. And this is where you can distinguish from somebody who genuinely wants to develop and further their career, and the one who is just moaning and complaining and wishing away and blaming others for not proceeding further. So I hope this helped. I help companies to implement that. I have one company, to implement this very basic structure, and it was the 260 people company, employees in the company, and it works really well because people took their initiative for the development, and now L&D is actually becoming very, very busy because people started to go to L&D asking for questions. How can I do this? How can I do that? And the conversation changed from, you need to do this for me, you need to train me on that, from that to, how can I achieve that? Can you help me to figure out the solution for that? And that is, I think, what we want, is really to train people and teach them again how to think, instead of giving them ideas how they should be, how they should feel, how they should think, how they can achieve a certain level of competence, and what is it, how they would they need to be. And once we get that, this is a real learning organization, and there is nothing more beautiful than that. So you guys, put your comments in the comment field, because now I'm going to open up for questions. And let's change LND together. But before we go into the questions, let me just stop my video. So that's all for you guys for now. I'm gonna get on to the team, because that's a private company, so I can't actually disclose their identity. Bye.